Hello everybody, welcome back. It is November 28th, 2025, and you're listening to episode 220 of Midnight Film Society. I'm your host, Damian Sherman. Joining me today, as always, is...
Derick McDuff.
On today's show, awards season may be in full swing, but we hit a little bit of a bump here in the red carpeted road this week. Derick and I will go over some 3-star slot for you all, including but not limited to The Running Man, Wicked for Good, Keeper, and much, much more. But before that, we'll get into some movie and TV news, go over more of what we've been watching, finish up with our Letterboxd assignments. Right to the show, midnightfilmsociety@gmail.com, Midnight Film Pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. Subscribe on Pocket Cast, YouTube Podcast, Spotify, rate and review it on Apple Podcast. Tell a friend, family member, or stranger, what's up, dude? How we doing?
We are doing well, ready to talk about some movies.
Nice. Yeah, there's some, like I said, a lull in the scheduling here. Kind of an unexpected lull. Is really,
a little bit.
Yeah, like last time I thought.
I mean, I feel like the October, November, it's always a little rough.
Yeah, it's just definitely a more emphasized like gulf between last time we were doing the show, best movie I saw this year so far. Other movies were like all 4 stars. This week is like just really had to scrape out there to find a halfway decent one. But we'll get into that stuff later. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so this week we have Udo Kier. We were just talking off mic that weren't really familiar with this gentleman's body of work. Udo Kier passed away this week at age 81, who appeared in My Own Private Idaho and Andy Warhol's Frankenstein. Like I said, I pulled up his Letterboxd to see what was most popular on there. Apparently it was 1977's Suspiria is his first credit here. 1977 Suspiria playing Dr. Frank Mandel. And then a movie I have not seen yet, Melancholia from 2011. My Own Private Idaho in 91 is Hans. But I do remember him as 1998's Blade as Dragonetti, apparently. It's an interesting name on there. A movie
Who was Dragonetti? Because I just watched that.
Let's see if I can pull up a picture of him. Dragon Eddie.
Oh, okay. Wait, he was like one of them vampire bureaucrats. Now,
yeah.
All right. Yeah,
Chitano Dragonetti. Yeah.
Something like that.
But I pulled up his fandom page here. He's an evildoer. Occupation: leader of the House of Erebus. Power, skills: immortality, intelligence, leadership. Goals: preserve his race's masquerade. In parentheses, failed.
Well,
that's funny. Spoiler alert.
I love fan wikis. I will love fan wikis like that so much.
Yeah, that's great. Recipes to Udo Kier, very that guy. Like you're saying, he has a very that guy face to him. People have seen Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. He was Ronald Camp in that movie, apparently. So yeah. Definitely one of those guys.
I loved that movie, so I wonder if I watched it again, I'd be like, oh, there he is.
Yeah,
I've not watched it in many years.
Very prolific, appearing in more than 220 films. So, yeah, rest in peace, Udo Kier.
Yeah.
Rip to a real one. Moving on, we've got the beginning. Like I said, we're at the beginning of the awards season. So kicked off this week with the Governor's Awards, and one of the major ones was given out to Mr. Tom Cruise. Tom J. Cruise received the honorary Oscar, Academy honorary award at the 2025 Oscars. So, yeah,
Mhm.
unfortunately, probably going to be one of the only Oscars Tom Cruise receives in his career. Still a long ways to go. He's in his 60s, but 60 is the new 40, is what they're saying in the streets.
That's what I'm hearing. But it's interesting with Cruz because I feel like he made a distinct choice to go away from those Oscar-ish roles that he was going for because he famously, kind of, didn't get the nominations slash wins that he was going for, and he went more into the action-oriented, side of his career. And we'll see. Obviously, I think he's getting too old for that now, so we'll see what happens if he's gonna, slide back to roles that defined, the mid part of his career. Your Eyes Wide Shuts, your Magnolias, those movies. If he gets more, Vanilla Sky, all those movies. If he gets more into those once again.
Yeah, they talk about him a lot on Big Pick and making a deliberate line that he crossed in the early 2000s, where in '99 he's in Magnolia, which I feel like was his big push for Best Actor nomination in that. Vanilla Sky was also that in 2001. Really pushed for it there. So in the early 2000s, he's still taking risks somewhat, like Collateral, Vincent and Collateral. That was a big risk still for that. And he does cameos in Tropic Thunder in the late 2000s, but it's really in the late 2000s is when the whole Jack Reacher starts popping up and really goes full tilt into the Mission Impossible franchise. Getting those out every few years. So yeah, there's definitely a dividing line. You can definitely see where he sort of pushes really, really hard for an Oscar win, and I think we see this a lot in actors where they sort of go full tilt for that Oscar, and then they either say no, we're not going to do that anymore because that was my one shot.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for a while. In '94 he's in Born on the 4th of July, so he's tried it a few times. I feel like one of his most one of the biggest whiffs as far as the Academy went was not getting him an Oscar for stuff like Rain Man. That was a really one of the best performances I would say in his career. What would you say is the performance Tom Cruise should have won his Best Actor for? Do you think?
I think if I'm choosing one role, I think it's Eyes Wide Shut. I think that he's really just so good and locked in, and that's just. I think for me that's like a performance that only Cruise could really give. Like he's so good in that performance. Maybe part of it is because he's like, hey, I'm a guy who's in this marriage and it seems like it's falling apart with this lady, Nicole Kidman. And you're like, oh, okay. So maybe it's like Leo in the Bear. How much of that was or Leo in The Revenant with the bear? How much of that is acting? He's just eating the fish. But I think that was a really, really the most memorable performance. But I mean. I would almost maybe give it to him for these roles that aren't really Academy bait, Like I think his most iconic role is Ethan Hunt. So maybe give it to him for Mission Impossible Fallout,
Mm. Yeah, there's still a few that I've heard are top tier. Maybe should have gotten the Oscar for them. At least not an Oscar, but at least a nomination. I've not seen Jerry Maguire. I've not seen The Firm. Days of Thunder, probably not. But I still have yet to see Born on the 4th of July. There's so many great performances in there. I would probably agree with you that Eyes Wide Shut is probably the one he should have won for. But I really have to commend his and highlight his performance in Magnolia, especially the scene where his character's father is dying, and you definitely I think he hasn't talked about, but there is that allegory and that comparison made to his own personal relationship with his father. So there's probably a lot of emotionality he's bringing to the fore there in that performance. So I would personally given the Oscar for the Magnolia performance.
Yeah, I mean, even something like, Last Samurai, which is a very action-oriented movie,
Yeah.
I think that's something that because it's a historical film, he has some very, emotional beats in it. Ed Zwick is a director who, his historical films often get a lot of recognition at the Oscars, Glory and Blood Diamond, got acting noms for for their actors. But not. I mean, Ken Watanabe did get nominated for that film, but not Tom Cruise.
Yeah. A lot of stuff to like in there, definitely. So, yeah, congrats to Tom Cruise on an honorary Oscar. Hopefully he gets a quote unquote real one pretty soon. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
It'll be interesting to see what that Inarito film he's making will turn out to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah. All right, so moving on, we have a feature coming to Letterboxd that seems really interesting if it works in the way that I hope it does. Letterboxd introduces a new video store on their platform. So first of all, what is it going to be? Are you going to watch a thing on Letterboxd? Are they going to kick you to like YouTube or like Vimeo or something like that? There's still a lot of details to be hammered out, but I think one of the most exciting things for me is what they're promising is a place for people like us who, things don't always come out around where we live. The Oscar nominated stuff takes sometimes until January to be available around us. So I think for me,
around you, I get it down here.
Sure, yes, you do. What was I going to say? The box set of Neon's box set that I saw a lot of creators on TikTok are getting those, and that is kind of my dream is to get a Neon box set just in terms of seeing all of their stuff, because I'm a huge fan of the stuff they distribute, but also to have it accessible and have it in a really good quality. I would love that. So Neon, shout out Neon, ship me one of those, please. I have 2,000 followers on Letterboxd, so please give me some of that. Money me now. But yeah, that is kind of the promise of this. Is that so in the article here on IndieWire, they say, quote, it hopes to stand out by offering a curated list of titles available for rental, and Letterboxd is basing that evolving list on user data-driven demand. The site in its announcement said the movies that will be licensed could include festival standouts that haven't even yet been distributed, movies that largely have been unavailable and frequently watch lists by users, recent restorations of films, and other special limited time drops. So that is kind of the thing I'm hoping that they will offer on this service is for maybe, what would you pay for to see like Hamnet early? Would you pay like $8, $10 to rent something like that?
No, I would just go, and I have my AMC pass. I would just go to the movie theater and
I'm saying,
it.
Sure, when it comes out, I'm saying, would you pay money to see it early?
No, I would just watch it like a normal person, honestly.
Right, but I'm okay. I'm saying like, oh, hey, Derick, I'm going to rent this thing tomorrow on Letterboxd or whatever. That doesn't excite you to be like, okay, cool, we can actually watch a movie at the same time because we don't have to wait for the staggered rollout of whatever movie we want to talk about.
Not really, I mean, okay. It's just, I would just, honestly, yeah, it's just like, I don't, like I said, it's those movies don't really, I don't have to wait too long for them to come out here. Hamnet is coming out, by the time this episode is out, it will have been out. I might have already even seen it. So it's not a problem that I encounter a lot down here. Obviously, sometimes there is the stuff that's the limited releases that only gets like a couple theaters in LA and New York or something like that. But but I'm not gonna pay a premium for to be the ones who go, well, I guess I saw it first. I would have loved to go see Frankenstein was playing down here. I would have loved to see it in a theater. But it wasn't playing at AMC because they have a whole big fight with Netflix. So I'm just like, I guess I'll just watch that on Netflix. I also prefer to watch movies like that when I can in the theater. And if I'm going to be watching it at home anyway, I don't really want to be paying a premium for that experience. I'd rather just pay to watch it at the theater.
Yeah, I mean, something like Train Dreams, we talked about last time, definitely a very emotional experience seeing it in theaters. I think it's very vastly different to see a movie at home. You have a definitely different take on it. It definitely hits you differently. So I get that the emotionality is probably something you're also seeking there. Yeah, but I'm also like, give me now. Give me movie now. So yeah, and it's also like I'll see it there. Maybe I'll rent it here and see it in theaters. It doesn't have to be one or the other type thing.
That's true. You can do both. But I both. Just especially this time of year, I'm trying to see as many movies as possible. Might not necessarily watch one twice, watch it in the theater, watch it at home, unless it's really something that I think is incredible. But haven't had that be the case for a minute.
Gotcha. Fair enough. All right, moving on. Many trailers have come out this week. One of the big ones being The Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping. This is a sequel to the prequel. That's never a good sign, but this series.
It's not really a sequel to the prequel. It's another prequel. So
yes,
it's really
gotcha.
yeah. It's not continuing the story of Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. Just to set the record straight.
Be technical about it, yeah.
Well, you said, well, that's not a good sign. Well, I'm like, that's not what's happening, though.
That's not what's happening. Yes.
And I can get into what's actually happening, but I'll let you go on.
No, yeah, you are the Hunger Games aficionado here. I was going to say the Hunger Games franchise is quietly one of the best franchises out there. Since the first four movies ended, I want to say like mid 2010s, 2014, 2015, around then. We've had the sequel come out, which garnered favorable reviews, made a bunch of money, and so yeah, we get another one from the pre-Katniss era. Have you watched this trailer? Can I talk about people that are going to be in this thing?
You can. I haven't watched the trailer, but you can talk about it because I've read the book, so you can you've say yes.
You've talked about reading that book. Yeah, did you like it?
Yes, I thought it was a good book. I thought it was a very good, but pretty ultimately unnecessary.
Gotcha.
Story.
Gotcha. Okay, so people starting the film is Joseph Zada as Haymitch. We have McKenna Grace playing Macy Donner. We have Jesse Plemons.
That's Katniss's mom.
Gotcha. We have Jesse Plemons playing Plutarch, the role played by what's his name? Philip Seymour Hoffman in the originals. We have Ralph Fiennes as Coriolanus Snow. We have Glenn Close as Drusilla Sickle. Whitney Peake as Lenore Dove Baird. Let's see who else. Yeah, a bunch of people in this. Maya Hawke plays YRS, and we have Elle Fanning playing Effie, which was the is that the woman? Is that the character that
Elizabeth Banks? Yeah, exactly.
Elizabeth Banks plays, and we have Kieran Culkin playing Caesar Flickerman, Billy Porter playing Magno Stift. Yeah, so people are playing people in this movie. Struggled to get through that to say the names. Yeah. So, how on a scale of 1 to 10, Derick, how excited are you for this film?
I would say like an 8, probably. I love the Hunger Games films. I've loved all of the previous entries, especially Battles of Songbirds and Snakes. The last one to come out, I was a really big fan of. But like I said, the book itself it feels like very good fan fiction, and the reason that this exists is because they need to keep making Hunger Games movies, as you alluded to, that they are very profitable. And originally, it's like what we're seeing with Wicked. It's like, well, this is a profitable franchise, but the thing is done. How do we keep making money off of these? And Lionsgate wanted to make more Hunger Games movies starring Katniss and Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss, and that would obviously be awful. That story is over, and if you made sequels to it, it would kind of defeat the purpose. It would be like somehow President Snow returned. I don't need to see that. But so Suzanne Collins instead was like, well, I'll write a prequel for you, and then you can adapt that. And then she was like, okay, well, I'll write a different prequel for you. Once again, this is not a continuation of that prequel, although it does have some things carry over. You mentioned one of the characters with the last name Bard or Baird, and that is, of course, someone who is in the family of Lucy Gray Baird, who is the main character besides Snow in Battles of Songbirds and Snakes, of course, played by Rachel Ziegler. So there is interesting the way there is some connective tissue between that prequel and the initial trilogy. That's pretty cool because they were pretty far apart. This kind of happens almost exactly in the middle of them. But not exactly, but it's pretty right there. But as you mentioned, you read off a lot of names. The cast list came out a while ago, and so it's a lot of people like what was everybody doing before the Hunger Games? What was Plutarch up to? Did you know he met Haymitch? You know, which is a problem that comes up with a lot of sequels, with a lot of fan fiction and stuff. And obviously, this isn't fan fiction because it's written by the original author, but it has some of the same tropes of like, well, you know, these guys all knew each other, and it's less of a problem here than with some stuff because it was already established in the Hunger Games that these people were all mentors, they all knew each other. But it is a lot of just like that prequely stuff where Haymitch will be like, "Well, I don't even drink," and it's like, "Oh, okay, we know Woody Harrelson is a big drunk in those movies," you know, and so and it's also a lot of stuff where, unlike Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which was largely a story that we didn't know about, Snow's backstory was only vaguely alluded to. Exploring his character, this very evil character's origins, was really interesting. Whereas this is just like looking in a more detailed way about a story that we already know. We already know from the Hunger Games what happened with Haymitch. You're just now going to a more in-depth examination of that. So I don't feel like it brought anything new to the franchise in a way that the last prequel did. So, but overall, I don't hate it, but I don't see a reason for it to exist other than the fact that they need to keep making Hunger Games movies.
Yeah, I'll definitely see it. I do need to catch up on the first one, which I still haven't seen. Heard is very good. So yeah, definitely looking forward to this sometime next year. Yeah.
How many of the Hunger Games movies have you seen?
So I saw all of them. I was in my in the waning days of my previous job where I was working overnights. I listened to the audiobooks all the way through, all of them. So I'm fully caught up on all of that stuff. I just haven't read any of the prequel stuff. Yep.
Okay, so you didn't read, but did you watch Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the film?
I have not yet. Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one's really good. I think that it's a good book and a good adaptation.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I definitely look forward to catching up on that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so moving on, we got a YouTube channel. I'm going to shout it out. Defunct Land is one you've talked about enjoying in the past.
Indeed.
Yeah, you and I are people who love a really well-made video essay. We talked, I want to say a few months ago now, maybe even a year ago, about Jenny Nicholson's 4-hour video essay on the Galactic Star Cruiser, the Star Wars attempt at sort of a live-action and interactable RPG sort of storytelling that did not go very well. Defunct Land is a YouTube channel that is dedicated. I'll just read the synopsis on the page. It's Defunct Land is a YouTube channel dedicated to pop culture history with a focus on extinct theme park and themed entertainment experiences. So the video essay we watched this week, I watched the majority of it. Did you watch all of this video?
Yes, I did. And because it was interesting because like a couple days ago, I was talking to my girlfriend and because we're also a big fan of Defunct Land, and we had watched the first part of this, which just came out a year ago. I was like, yeah, it's been a year. We haven't seen it. And then like literally the day after I said this, the second part, which is 4 hours and 18 minutes dropped. So
yeah. I got about 3 hours into it. It's so, to give a brief synopsis, it is basically about the animatronics in the Disney parks, right? Is that a good summation of what the video is basically about?
Yeah. You know, the first part, with the one part from last year, is kind of about the early years. You know, about Walt mostly during Walt's lifetime, and the like Abraham Lincoln animatronic and like the Magic Tiki Room and stuff. And this is more of the modern stuff. You know, the last 30 or so years of animatronics in Disney parks.
Yeah, and they talk about the different variations on each animatronic. You know, at the very beginning, it was let's say Roy Disney. What's his Walt Disney's favorite Walt's favorite person. Like one of the people he was obsessed with as a kid was Abraham Lincoln. So that's why one of the first animatronics released on Disney parks was the famous Abraham Lincoln that could just literally just stand up and move his arms, articulate his arms a little bit, and just obviously have pre-programmed voice lines. And so it goes from that to progressing thinking through, okay, well, what if some more parts can move, hand gestures and feet and all of this stuff? And what if we used, instead of, pre-recorded lines, what if there was somebody behind the scenes actually talking to people? So it gets into that, and it goes a very good progression of it goes into the one about the turtle from
Turtle Talk with Crush.
Turtle Talk with Crush was a huge success, to the point where many other companies tried to copy basically the entire premise of it. That was really interesting. It's really interesting how they sort of progressed from it wasn't Turtle Talk. The very first version of it was it was supposed to be. They were saying very early version was maybe Mickey, but then we're like, no, he has to say the right thing at the right time. It's a very it's a beloved character for a lot of people, but it's also a very highly protected, intellectual property for Disney. It has to say the right thing. It always has to be Mickey. It can't be outside of Mickey's character to say anything or do anything. So then they switched it up to, I forget what was the second one they went with. Oh, it was
a Stitch phone call thing.
Yeah, because Stitch could be more weird and could say different things, and so they went through that and talked about the evolution of that. So yeah, it was just a really interesting. If anybody's interested in the super macro details of how parks, specifically Disney, but how a park evolves over time. They talked a lot about how after Walt passed away, and then especially after some of the guys that we know today, that I'm blanking on their names, but they took over and sort of had a very risk-averse sort of strategy to
Eisner
the parks.
And Chapek.
Yes, very, very risk-averse, because they were, not I would say not losing money. I want to just they were saying there's going bad. It's no, they were making hand over fist, just not as much as they would like. Just like every major modern company now is just we made more money, but not 10 times as much or whatever. But it's a very, very interesting and well-made deep dive into the history of animatronics and automatons and all this stuff at Disney parks over the past 60 years.
Yeah, and it's like any good video essay. It's really great and informative on the subject, but it's also saying something wider, about, the world. Obviously, as a big Disney fan, I was very engaged and interested in all the stuff that they were, talking about the history of it and stuff. Because I have grown up next to Disneyland, lived here my whole life, still down the street from Disneyland. It's an important place for me. But then also it's talking about wider implications of AI and all these technologies and how dangerous and problematic that can be, and people becoming just brands. You mentioned the Mickey as a brand and how protected he has to be, and how Walt himself has become that. And there's a whole bit where they quote Walt, where he's Walt Disney's I am not Walt Disney. Walt Disney would not. He's not a person. With the flaws and stuff like that. He is this idea. Walt Disney is a brand now. Walt Disney doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't do all these things that I actually do. And the way that, ultimately Disney himself became an animatronic, just like the way that he turned Abe Lincoln into an ideal and an animatronic. He is now sharing the stage with Abe Lincoln in the same theater, different stages, but in the same, showroom. Yeah. There is now a Walt Disney exhibit that is mirroring the Abraham Lincoln one, and to see Walt's kind of get transformed into this thing that he created, and what that says about the way technology progresses, and the world, and just a lot of the second half that deals with how a lot of these technologies aren't even being made to be utilized in the parks. They're just things for investors to take note of, and for to get good press and stuff. So it's a really fascinating documentary, and even if you're not a Disney fan, I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts was when they're talking about the meet and greet that they're doing with Mickey, and how the voice lines, they sort of hammered out a lot of the issues, to the point where Mickey was, commenting on what people was wearing and saying the right thing at the right time. But then it just became an issue of just getting people in and out, because somebody would ask for a photo and a dance. He was like, okay, dance, say cheese, and do that dance. And then the next person would come in, okay, say the thing, and just, it was getting very, very, very repetitive. So they were at the point where he's like, okay, we got to find a different word for cheese, just so the character cannot get... cannot go crazy saying cheese all the time. Yeah, and just how the the dance, the choreography between the person in the suit, the person behind the scenes working the voice lines, just the person, the assistant next to Mickey trying to get everybody in and out and take the picture and say the right thing and not upset anybody, because a lot of the early concerns obviously was like, oh, is he going to scare the kids by saying the wrong thing or upsetting somebody? And I love the one where it was like hidden cameras, like looking at what was it, the magic mirror, right? They were trying to talk to the mirror, and the mirror.
Oh yeah, in the
like,
hotel room.
In the hotel room, of it's like, hey, they were doing like trivia or whatever, and it was like, hey, what's this thing with the thing? And then somebody says the right words, like, okay, moving on. And it was just this weird. The early stages of a lot of this tech is still in its very nascent stages. So yeah, you're right that like AI is just going to run rampant through all of this stuff, and it's going to like. Once they get to the point where the stuff works, they're going to have such a huge problem with, all of these very, very talented, performers and actors and writers just not being able to do that stuff anymore, which is heartbreaking. But, I guess there is a tinge of like, I don't know what the word is, but like the fact that it all breaks, the fact that we still need so much human interactivity with all this stuff, there is a glimmer of hope that because it's such a huge undertaking that because it's not working, I guess I should say that it's a good thing that it's not working because we still need humans to shore up the shortcomings and a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you didn't get to the end, but that's what a lot of the kind of, the last segment, the little epilogue at the end deals with, is that the stuff that really ends up being the most engaging to people with these living characters are the ones where they're engaging with actual people, and they're just not talking to a screen. How, you brought up the Star Wars Hotel, the things that worked for people in the Star Wars Hotel was, the character interactions they would have with the people in costume when they would go out, and the things that didn't work were there was this screen that had this really incredible technology that they could it was much of an advancement from the old Mickey one in that hotel, but they were just able to have like these long conversations, do all this stuff for as long as they wanted, and they were like, that really didn't keep their interest as much as something like the Mickey thing, which was, there was 4 humans that you need to involve in that. Even the Turtle Crush, talking with Crush thing, that is, it may be just a screen, you're just talking to someone, but there is a human there. They can improvise. They can think of these things that AI, these algorithms cannot. Even if they're like the best algorithm in the world, they're missing that spark of humanity. So I think that was one of the ultimate takeaways from the film.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great stuff. Highly recommend it. All right, so let's move on to what we've been watching. Like I said, I haven't been watching too much stuff other than the 3 movies I watched at Crossgate. So I went back to the Regal this time to watch 3 films in the theater. First up, we have Keeper, another film from Osgood Perkins, who's been putting them out in the last few years, been very prolific. He's had in the last year and a half, he had Long Legs in 2024, The Monkey early this year, and now we have Keeper. It is a folk horror movie, basically. It just stars Tatiana Maslany from She-Hulk, and what was that one she was in? I never saw it. Was she in? She was in Orphan, right? She did that whole.
Orphan Black.
Orphan Black, yeah. This will have co-starring with her is Rossif Sutherland. I believe he is, son of actor Donald Sutherland. Haven't seen him in too much. Let's see what he's been in. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, you know what? he was in Orphan First Kill from 2022. As I saw Orphan. I was like, what?
Okay.
Oh, yep. He was good in this. Interesting, like. Vibe he has, interesting like aura this guy has, the kids say. Interesting, just like he has a very deep voice. He's very sort of staccato with the way he talks. It's a off-putting thing where it's obviously something going to go wrong, and so you can tell from the beginning, and you're like, oh, this guy has a weird, just something's off about him. It's very good performance in that way. The logline is, a woman meets guy, has, with him for a year, then they go to his cabin in the woods, and it's not a normal cabin. It's like one of those, very fancy new agey cabins with a lot of windows. And she actually comments on that when she's there. She's like, there's so many fucking windows. It's bizarre. It's just in the woods. So yeah, I won't spoil it too much about it, but yeah, very good atmospheric camera work, very good music, very creepy. It has that one of my favorite things that I don't really see too often, which is just creaking house, but also the house feels like a character. One of the first times I really noticed this was in I'm thinking of Ending Things from 2020, where the house in that movie is very much a character unto itself, where you can hear the wind whistling throughout the creaky house. I love that stuff. But anyways, yeah, this it's, if you like a good creepy folk horror-y thing, it's pretty short, and Osgood Perkins, he has definitely a vibe onto himself. So yeah, if you like all that stuff, definitely recommend this.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to check that one out. Like we said, we're kind of in a little bit of a dearth of stuff to watch, so I'll have to give this one a watch probably sometime the next week or so.
Yeah, very good. Let's go to something we both watched, The Running Man, the 2025 Running Man, directed by Edgar Wright, stars Mr. Glenn Powell, William H. Macy, Lee Pace, Michael Cera. Sorry if I spoiled people in this movie, but they're out there. Their name is out there, so it's not a really big secret that they're in this movie. Yeah, I was not a big fan of the movie, and I'll just say that right off the bat. I usually have you go first for things like this, but yeah, I'll just say, yeah, it's just dragged. It's called The Running Man, and he does a lot of laying around in hotel rooms, and cinematography is not great. The choreography, fight choreography, not that great. Not very interesting. Characters. I think I've never seen Glenn Powell be mean or nasty, and I get that it's a good. I like seeing actors try to stretch their tools, really go outside their comfort zone. But it didn't work for me at all. I've seen him in too many roles where he's the nice guy, and I've seen too many interviews where he's a very cool customer, and he's just losing his shit over and over again, and I just don't buy it. I'm sorry. Just overall, that stuff really didn't work for me. And we'll talk about the ending in a little bit, give people a time to skip ahead a little bit. But we'll go to you first, Derick. What did you think of The Running Man?
Yeah, I mean, I think I liked this movie more than you. I thought it was just okay. I will say I think it is probably my least favorite Edgar Wright movie. I didn't have problems with the choreography and the staging. I think Edgar Wright's always really good with that. But it just felt like the pacing was a really big issue for me. And especially I will say I love the 80s Running Man as well with Arnold. But the tone and the pacing was the problems with this, because I feel like the way that the 80s Running Man worked is, and obviously it's not a remake, it's a different imagining of it's a lot closer to the original Stephen King novel, this new one, but the original was able to balance out the tone of this really terrible apocalyptic, dystopian world with some fun humor and action. Whereas this, I feel like, struggled with it. I think one of the scenes where, and it's in the trailer, so we've seen it a million times, so this isn't really a spoiler, but where Michael Cera has like this super soaker, and it's supposed to be this fun thing. It's kind of tonal whiplash. That like Cera's good. Obviously, he's worked with Edgar Wright before and Scott Pilgrim, but I don't think, so it wasn't his fault. Like that scene it fell flat, and then once we especially get in the third act, and there's all these like twists and turns and reversals, and characters just show up and have full character arcs that take about 30 seconds. There's one character played by the actress from Coda, whose name I forget now, who just kind of shows up towards the end, that I was like, felt very rushed, everything that happened with her. So overall, but it was still an Edgar Wright movie. There's still a lot of fun action stuff happening. Lee Pace is really fantastic in it. Josh Brolin, obviously really good. Colman Domingo, and I didn't have the problems with Glenn Powell that you did. Katie O'Brien, I would have liked to honestly have seen even more of her. Yeah. The whole this society is really interesting. There's a really good gag where it's like a shout out to Arnold himself. So overall, this was like a decent, fine movie to me that I don't regret seeing, but I wouldn't watch again.
Yeah, I think we do have to just talk about the ending for a little bit, because that was kind of my biggest problem with it. So. it's such a convoluted ending too, because he sort of, fakes having a bomb trapped to himself so he can get on a plane and get over the Canadian border. But on the plane ride, they realize, oh yeah, of course she doesn't have a bomb. It was just her purse. And so fight happens at the plane. Eventually he, Glenn Powell's character, he's forced to make another video throughout the course of the movie. To continue the game, he has to make a video every 24 hours to prove he is alive, but also, he can't just sit back and be, in the middle of nowhere. I guess that's part of the rules. So, Josh Brolin's character says to him, okay, you need to make one last video to tell people that what did he want him to say? Like, oh, I love this, and I'm this guy, and he
was like he was gonna become like one of the hunters to hunt the next Running Man,
right? Yeah,
people, because they like had this whole thing where there's a lot of like AI deepfake commentary stuff where they like made it look like the hunters killed his family, which obviously, why would you believe that? You're an idiot. Yeah. And he's like, I'm gonna still kill him, but I'm not gonna work for you. So yeah, that's what was happening with him at that point.
Yeah, Ben says like, oh, he's gonna ask the viewers to hunt down Killian and kill him and his fellow executives. Obviously, they didn't air that, so instead they air a deepfake of Ben threatening to crash into the building and the plane is shot down. But then it's reversed like funny game style, where like, nope, that didn't actually happen. Let's rewind and show you what really happened. I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck is that? You can't. At a certain point, you're like, what are we even doing here? So he didn't really die. They recover the black box. They leak the uncensored recordings. Okay, sure. I'm just reading for the Wikipedia here. Ben survives the plane due to the auto eject function. He becomes the face of the revolution and reunites with his family and goes to the next Running Man and kills and shoots Killian. Okay. Sure.
Yeah. The ending, like I said, it feels very rushed, and convoluted. But in the original novel, he actually does fly into the building.
Yeah.
I get why you changed that. And that's something you can write in the 80s. That's not something you can write post 2001, where the hero flies a plane into a tower.
Yep.
And that's the heroic victory. But it's very, like you said, they have that whole reversal where it's like, oh, here's the guy from earlier who was like, talking on the airwaves, like he's just like, this is what actually this is what you think happened, but this is what actually happened. And then Ben just shows up at the end and is like, look, we won. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, I talked a lot about the Hunger Games and how much I really think that deals with a dystopian society that feels very nuanced and interesting, and it takes its time. Obviously it's 3 books and 4 movies that it takes to, have the over the regime be overthrown, what essentially just happens in the like 10-minute denouement of this movie, where it's just like, don't worry, the good guys just rose up and won, and okay. So yeah, just that the third act, like I said, was definitely the weakest part of the film for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Unfortunate, because I was very much looking forward to that. I think if I go back and look at my list of most anticipated stuff from this year, that's probably very high on it. So yeah, very disappointing.
Yeah, it was on my top 10. I think it was like my number 8 or something for most anticipated films of the year.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so there's that. Next up, I have Predator Badlands. This is from Dan Trachtenberg, starring Ellie Fanning and Demetrius Schuster.
Ellie
Fanning, yes, right? No?
Just L.
L.
E-L-L-E. Well, sure, Ellie. It just like seems like your
yes,
pal. Me and my old pal Ellie.
You're right. You're right.
Ellie
yes,
Fanning.
L Fanning. Yes.
Like when people say Johnny Williams was scoring this soundtrack.
Stevie Spielberg, my good friend. Yeah. Stevie Spielberg. Yep. Yes, Elle Fanning, Demetrius Schuster, Kolo Mantingang, yes, sorry. Will not be trying to pronounce that guy, New Zealand actor. Yeah, this is fucking amazing. One of my favorite action movies of the year and favorite big blockbusters of the year. This is what, if you want to look at compare it to action movies and be like, okay, why does one, fight choreography work? Why does one set piece work? Why does one sort of the way they shot the action work? This is that. This is what you should be trying to do, where you can actually tell where people are in a fight. The geography of a fight is so important. So this does a very good job of doing all that stuff right. Dan Trachtenberg obviously did Prey previously to this. 10 Cloverfield Lane was one of my favorite movies of that year. I believe he was a producer on Predator, Killer of Killers. So this is obviously a franchise that is near and dear to his heart, and he's doing a very good job of protecting that franchise and doing very good stuff with it. It's I saw this in, actually, I'll talk about how I saw it. Because I just bought a ticket, and I was like, all right, this is a premium format. I could tell because I have to pay $7 to see it. I was like, all right, this is interesting. It's called Screen X.
$7 total?
Yes. Yeah, because normally you would pay $0, but any premium format, IMAX.
Oh, you're saying, for your upcharge your thing.
I was upcharged,
right, right. Because you have the Regal Pass, and they love to upcharge you. Okay.
They do. They'd love to do it, yeah. So I had no idea what it was. Just went in blind, and I sit down. I'm like, all right, this looks like a normal theater to me. Then one of the trailers, the sides of the screen, the sides of the auditorium start lighting up. I'm like, what is this? What is going on? I was like, okay, they just stretch it out. Cool. For anybody that's ever played a PC game or played a Xbox game or a first-person shooter, and you extend out the field of view, the FOV, really, really long. So it's sort of like that. You're just stretching the field of view to extend out to the left and the right walls, which is, it's fine. It didn't really add much to the experience, and it didn't really take away too much from the experience either. It did a weird thing though, which is like, obviously lights up the theater more so than usual, so it is kind of a immersion breaking in that sense that you're usually in a theater where the surrounding seats around you and everything around you is dark, and you're sort of immersed in the image projected towards you, and there's not much light to light up the room. But because both sides of the theater were lit, you do break that immersion a little bit by having the theater light up like that. But it was interesting. It was fine. So that's my review of Screen X. It's fine. I don't need to see anything else on it. I've experienced it, so yeah, it is fine. But yes,
I talked about this one last week, right? Didn't I?
I think so. Let me go back real fast. Yeah, I think you liked it a lot, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I didn't think quite as much as you, but so I won't repeat myself too much. But I did also watch this in a premium format, not the 4DX where they just play things on the walls. I think that's a weird decision. But I saw this in the Dolby, and I gotta say, seeing this in the Dolby where it's the pristine picture and the incredible sound, and it's just like, because it was all the like, it's almost like seeing the 4DX things where they're like shaking the seats and like doing all the stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a little bit nicer and classier than that, but you're still like when the ship takes off and you're like it's just the vibrations in that theater just like shake your entire body. It's so immersive and incredible. And yeah, so I was a fan of seeing it that way. I gotta ask, Damian.
Yes, sir.
What is the alien timeline? Because I am so confused. Because obviously, it's not. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that this crosses over with the Alien franchise because Weyland-Yutani is in this, and Elle Fanning is a Weyland-Yutani robot. I'm like, how does this factor in to how do you think that now that the Alien and Predator franchises are once again merged after the AVP was decanonized? Do you have a theory on that?
I have absolutely no idea, especially with Alien Earth, taking place probably around this timeline. So yeah, I mean, if they're going to try to do anything with it, it's definitely be the expansionist nature of Weyland-Yutani. We've seen that a lot in Alien Earth, so I could definitely see if they're going to try to do anything like that, it would definitely be with that sort of corporatized, that sort of like where all of this is our property, this alien, this predator thing is our quote unquote property. So yeah, I also want just like a general explanation of like what Weyland-Yutani's end goal is. It's just like, okay, we're going to collect these things. Are they trying to use them obviously as weapons of
biological warfare? They're always going after a big monster for biology, except for in Prometheus. Then Weyland's trying to live forever. But other than that, they're just going after big monsters.
And I get the idea, right, of like, capitalism and just monopolies is the point is to be the one left standing, right? I get that. But I just don't, at this point is like, okay, you want these biochemical weapons for warfare, right? But to fight who? Like, I guess, normal people and force them into slavery. Yeah, I get that. Is that the end goal of just like, yeah, we have the weapons and we'll use them, as opposed to humans, I guess, right? Is that what they're trying to do? Again, just replacing humans in all facets of life, especially war, is like their end goal, I guess.
I mean, maybe I think it's also just like it's like the atomic bomb thing. It's like we have this thing, you guys don't have it. We can use it on you whenever we want, and yeah, just to sell to whoever. Obviously, like I don't think I wasn't asking so much about the economy of Alien as much as how these two franchises tie together in timeline. But it's interesting because you mentioned Alien Earth, and this is intentionally set much after. In the far future from what Alien Earth or Alien Romulus, which was also had not been released when this was shooting, because he did not want to avoid any what do you call it, discrepancies, any anything like that, no plot holes, because the internet loves to jump on those, as I guess I just did, but
just talking a little bit about Badlands. I really like the effects work in this. I thought it was a really emotionally affecting thing when Deck, the main guy in this movie, and his brother, after they're done with their scuffle, Deck and what is his name? Quay was his brother's name. Yeah, Deck and Quay go and meet their father, and their father's like, Deck needs to die because he's weak, and Quay is about to kill him, and you see in his Deck's face this like very emotional, like sad look, and I'm like, Jesus, I've never seen a predator look so sad before. That's really it's really impressive to make me feel something for this this creature of death that we always feared. That was really interesting. And then of course Elle Fanning playing two very distinct characters. I thought that was really cool, and especially I love those parts in any movie or TV show where you have twin characters or two characters that look very much alike, and you are putting one of them in the position to pretend to be the other one. I thought that was always an interesting take on stuff like that, which she does in this movie. Just the the action, like I said, the action set pieces were incredible. Do you think it was a callback to Aliens? Yeah, it was Aliens, right? Where Ripley's in the mech suit fighting off the alien queen. Yeah. So that was probably a callback to that, of having Elle Fanning's character in the mech suit fighting off the what was the huge thing they were trying to kill the whole time.
Oh my God, they said it like 1,000 times. Why am I spacing on it? The Kalisk.
Yeah, the Kalisk. Was that? You think that was a callback for the Kalisk fighting her in that mech suit?
Yeah, 100%. Well, they're like, we got to put it where Wayland Yutani, we got to put in the power loader. That's iconic.
Yeah. What else was I going to say? Yeah, I love also that, I don't know, I would love to ask Dan Trachtenberg if this was a sort of, not reference, but also, homage to Prey, where Prey's main character has to use primitive technology against a more advanced person. You also have Deck here put in the position of having to use more primitive technology and using his environment to great effect by the end, right? Because at the end, all his suit's taken away, his sword's taken away, and he has to rely on and fall back on sort of not the tech, but the flora and the fauna of this world to use against his enemies here, right?
Well, those are both callbacks to the original Predator, right? That's what Arnold has to do to beat the Predator in the first one, is because they're trying to go up against these things with guns and grenades and all this stuff. And the only way he's able to beat him is by going low tech and, tying up, booby traps in the jungle like he's, the Ewoks or something. And that's how and using spike traps and logs and stuff like that. So I think both Badlands and Prey are following in that same formula of the original Predator.
Yeah, and I also think it was a very good sort of wraparound or bookend to this movie in and of itself, where Deck's brother, what was his name, Quay, when they're fighting in the cave, Quay says to Deck, use the cave. So I thought that was an interesting way to sort of make that analogy work as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fun action movie for sure.
Very, very fun action movie. Yeah, one of my favorites of the year so far, definitely. All right, so that was Predator Badlands. Let's see what else did I ever watch. Well, we'll save my thing for Pluribus for last. Once you tell me, but you're back to back. You checked out Wicked and Wicked for Good. What did you think of these?
Yeah, these were not very good. I did, yeah, as you say, watch them back to back. I had not seen either Wicked. I had, since I was a musical theater major for 3 semesters, I had a lot of people sing all the songs nonstop all the time. So I knew a lot of these songs. But yeah, this movie is uh, basically just bad fan fiction. Obviously, it's based on the musical, which is based on the fanfic book of which is based on the movie, which is based on the original 1900 book. But it falls into the, like I talked about how the prequely problems, the fanfiction problems with Hunger Games, and how those are a little bit elite there because it makes sense they all knew each other. This is just like, why does the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Wicked Witch of the West and the East and like they all know each other, and then like the wicked and the good witch is also like best, and it's just like, oh, they all went to college together, and the Cowardly Lion was there for a second too for some reason. Like we just needed to shoehorn him in. It just felt like very, for something that was so obsessed with like building this like really beautiful colorful world, and by I say building I mean just building off of the other films and like all the other iconography that he's used, Oz, which is a common thing to be like, hey, here's my Oz thing. It's very, it's got a deep cinematic history. Probably the movie I would say that most people in the world have seen is probably The Wizard of Oz, so it's easy to just be like, we're tying into that. There's been so many things, Oz the Great and Powerful, or like that show, Tin Man show with Zooey Deschanel and Neil McDonough. Every couple of years there's another Oz thing that is just like, look at the iconography from that we're using, cribbing from the old movie. It wants to do all that, but it's just very lazy with the way it ties everyone together, except for Dorothy, who in the second one is, because for people who aren't aware, the first one is essentially a prequel. The second one is mostly like a side quill to The Wizard of Oz. And Dorothy's kind of like, she just went that way. Just don't worry about her. You just saw the back of her hair. She was, or her shadow. She wasn't really here. So just the plot really bugged me. And there's also this whole thing about like the main reason why this character becomes the Wicked Witch and why all these things are happening is because there's this big thing where they're like trying to persecute a particular class, basically animals, and that really just disappears from most of the second film, except for the very end when it's very lazily and easily resolved. So that was really annoying. It's an incredibly predictable film with this fan fiction ass plot. I will say there's some good performances in this, good songs. As I mentioned, the songs are bangers. More so in the first one than the second one, but Cynthia Erivo, really good. Jonathan Bailey, incredible. Just that man is just so attractive. And then Jeff Goldblum, also really good. Will say though, I don't understand how Ariana Grande has tricked everyone into thinking she's a good actress. I'm just like baffled. I guess she's good at being annoying, which her character is supposed to be in the first one. Like it's like, okay, but it's supposed to be as a like endearing, interesting character. I think she falls very flat. But you know what, Bailey and Erivo, they kill it. But yeah, it felt afraid to actually, embrace the queer subtext that it was constantly dancing around. So I was like, I'll just go watch Challengers.
That was right. That was your review on Letterboxd, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me see. Was the first one nominated for Best Picture last year or no?
It was absolutely nominated for Best Picture, which is the reason that I was initially thinking about seeing it. Because it was nominated for Best Picture. The first one's also longer. It's 2 hours and 45 minutes long, which is about the length of the play. So the fact that they did that and added a whole second movie that is itself over 2 hours, they added so much stuff in this that I feel like was probably not necessary. And watching, you can kind of tell which are the songs that are like, hey, this is a really good song. This is probably from the original, which was like, ooh, this feels like some weird filler they added to make this movie the length it needed to be, and also to get Oscar, be Oscar eligible in the song category.
Gotcha. One thing I want to say about Wicked, I just put it together.
Say Wicked in your most New England accent,
my
please.
native people's language.
Yes,
freaking
exactly.
Wicked kid. Wicked.
There you go.
Wicked for good kid. All right, Tommy over here, freaking wicked. He's wicked smart. Freaking.
You gotta be wicked smart to go to Harvard.
Freaking Goodwill Hunting. He ain't that freaking smart, okay?
How about them apples, huh?
How about them freaking apples, kid? So John Travolta, right? He said he introduced Idina Menzel as Adele Dazeem, but he prefaced by saying the wickedly talented Adele Dazeem. And I just put it together that he said wicked because she's in Wickedly because she's in Wicked. Yeah. Okay.
She does have both of them have her and I will say she always will be Adele Dazeem to me. That can't ever get out of my head. But both her and Kristen Chenoweth have a cameo in the first Wicked, which I thought was fun.
All right, yeah. I've always made it a thing to watch all the Best Picture nominated stuff, and I've abdicated my duties as a film watcher, Best Picture film watcher. I forgot about Wicked. Freaking Wicked. I forgot about it. Freaking Wicked. Really quickly, purpose is still pluribus. I think I'm of two minds about this. I think that there is, like I said last time, it's very expansive. It's very ambitious in the storytelling. And so the thing I'm of two minds about is that because it's so expansive and so ambitious, I really want to know everything now. And so I am almost at the point where I'm like, maybe I'll just wait till it's all out. And I'm also
that's what I'm doing. I'm just waiting for it. I'm just gonna binge it.
Are you?
And
Okay,
then I can talk about it in one go on the show.
Yeah, because it's doling out its plot and also its character stuff in a very obviously deliberate way. And I get that that's why they're doing it, but it's also very slow at this point. So not a lot to talk about. Like I said last time, I've seen a lot of stuff like this. Three Body Problem dealt with a worldwide alien invasion. Well, it didn't really deal with the invasion, but it was a worldwide problem. But I've read and watched things about hive mind stuff so many times that this is, it's not new to me. But Rhea Seahorn's doing a really interesting stuff. But yeah, I'll definitely continue to check it out.
Yeah. Once this is all out, like I said, I'm gonna just probably binge the whole thing.
Yes. All right, so that's all we have been watching this week. Let's move on to Letterboxd assignments that did not get to check out To Kill a Mockingbird yet. It's a very huge, very, very busy week for me. I just worked my 6th day in a row, which is not great, so I didn't have time to check out that this week. Derick, did you check out Michael Mann's Thief?
I did. I was able to check that one out. I'm very glad I did because I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. If you're a fan of Michael Mann at all, it is a very, very Michael Mann movie. I'm also a very big fan of James Caan, and I think this is one of the few films I can think of where he's the star. He's usually an ensemble or a supporting character, but he's great in this, and it's just this great movie about what it's like to live in capitalism and to live as a freelancer, and kind of him just being this very gruff, at times unlikable guy, but also a thief that you're really rooting for. Willie Nelson is randomly in this, which I thought was fun. So I had a really good time with this. I thought its themes were, were very poignant, and it felt very ahead of its time. It's also just like a fun heist movie. And I love heist movies. I'm always an easy sell for those. Except for the fucking magic Now You See Me, Now You Don't ones. Those don't work. But this one very much did. James Caan gives a incredible performance here. And it wasn't as much about the heisting stuff as I thought. It was a lot more about like the interpersonal dynamics and about chasing. It was this almost like weird version of like chasing the American dream, but with him also being like a thief. Like he wants the nice house with white picket fence and the wife and the 2.5 kids, and he like sell out some of his independence in order to do that. And if he has done that, does he like sold his soul to this corporation who now owns him? But the corporation is of course like thieves, So
Yeah.
I thought that was all really cool, and it just got some good Michael Mann type action and shit, getting people getting shot and things getting blowed up real good. So yeah, that's always fun.
Yes. Yeah. Really glad you enjoyed it. Michael Mann's just fucking Michael Mann. But I think the thing that he really kicked off his career and continued to do throughout the rest of it was have incredible cinematography. The blues and the greens of the car lot and the neon lights of the car lot and the wet streets is just one of his tells, one of his signature styles is nighttime photography. He loves that shit, especially in like Collateral and obviously Heat. And I've never seen.
Once that guy got a hand on fucking digital cameras, he was off to the races.
He really was. I was gonna say I haven't seen Miami Vice, but it's a similar idea there. And yes, this is Michael Mann. He's just one of a kind guys with a very distinct style.
Mm-hmm, yeah, 100%. And this is a real. I'm glad I got there's a reason it was on my watch list. I'm got to check it off because it was one of the big Michael Manns that I had not seen yet.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that was your stuff. I'm gonna swap out mine. I don't know even why mine was on there, but I added
you've seen that, where we talked about it last time, right?
Yeah, I saw that thing. Yeah. So I will do a new shuffle. One of my coworkers is huge into rom-coms, so on her recommendation, I added a bunch of rom-coms to my list that I haven't seen, some classic ones that I needed to check off my watch list. So I will hit shuffle, and I will see if I get one of those this week. Did not get one of those this week. I got Bebette's Feast, another food movie. I got Big Night last time. Now I got another iconic food film this week called Bebette's Feast from 1987, directed by Gabriel Axel. So I'll be checking that out for next time. That is streaming on the Criterion channel if anybody wants to watch that with me. So that'll be on my assignment for next time. Derick, spin the wheel. Let me know what you get.
Let's see. Of course. I was like, I saw this on my list and it was very close to the top, and it's very appropriate for what we were talking about today. I got Predator: Killer of Killers, the other Predator movie made by Dan Trachtenberg in 2025. Yep. So guess I'll be keeping the theme going. We're going to be talking about Predator Dan Trachtenberg movies 3 weeks in a row here.
Nice. There we go. All right. So that's the stuff we'll be watching for next time. And for next time, we got Wake Up Dead Man. This is coming to a limited release this week on November 26th. So it is playing around near me. So definitely will be hopefully checking this out in theaters before it comes to Netflix on December 12th. Same week, same day, we have I really struggled to find stuff coming out also this week, and I found a movie whose name I have never even heard of, The Thing with Feathers. Derick, have you heard of a movie called The Thing with Feathers?
Nope. I saw the notes and I was like, what in the hell is that?
So that's out if you want to check that out, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, David Thewlis, and some people. Yeah. The synopsis is, left to raise two young sons after unexpected death of his wife, Dad's life begins to unravel. Okay. Anyways, that's something. Next up, we have Left-Handed Girl. I think I talked about this earlier this year because it is from director Shi Ching Tsao, who is a frequent collaborator with Sean Baker. Sean Baker also co-wrote this film. So this will be coming out in limited release this week. So, yeah. You can check that out in theaters as well. The week after, like you were saying, Hamnet is in limited release. This is also at the Spectrum 8, so I might have to trek out there to see Hamnet. So this is obviously the one we talked about last time that is on the second or first pick for people's choices, for people's predictions, rather, for Paul Mescal to win Best Actor at the upcoming Academy Awards. So I would definitely be, anticipating this very much. It's obviously stars Paul Mescal and I don't have all the names pulled up, but Paul Mescal and
Jesse
Yeah, Jesse. Something. What's her name? Jesse Buckley. Yes, Jesse Buckley and Paul
Yes, Jessie
Mescal.
Buckley.
Yep. So
Yeah, so
definitely
I'm a
looking.
big fan of hers.
Yeah.
And Paul Mescal is also great. So excited for this one. I mean, I think it's always interesting when you're like doing these like, oh, what was Shakespeare doing over here kind of things. Those are always fun to watch. Like what was it? It was the Anonymous was the fun one. Obviously Shakespeare in Love. Those are always fun movies, I think. So interested to see what's going on with this, and to see Paul Mescal as Shakespeare, and to see Jessie Buckley in a movie, because she always hits even when she's in a bad movie. Hers, and this one will probably be a good movie. So that's good.
Yes. I just want to point out one of my favorite film critics, Walter Shaw. If people before or after watching this movie, check out his film review on Film Freak Central is his blog. I recommend checking it out. It's not a favorable review. It's a very I don't. He's one of my favorite reviewers because he's raw. He's so raw and so just like doesn't give a fuck. So that's
like
his
a
writing.
Pauline Kael kind of
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah. I would highly recommend checking out any of his writing, but especially on his. Here, I'll post a link in the thing here. I'll post a link on the show notes to his review. He's one of my favorite people because he didn't give a fuck. It's very very funny.
All right, nice.
Same week we have Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair. I feel like I've been hearing about this movie for years. That Quentin Tarantino was going to put this thing together and put it out in theaters, but it's finally out. It's for those that don't know, it's Kill Bill Part 1 and Part 2 as one full movie. I don't know if there's stuff edited out or changed for time considerations, but yeah, that's a thing people can check out if they want this week.
Yeah, it's been like he's done limited release showings of it. That was like kind of like a traveling thing, I think, but like this is the first time it's getting like a wider release.
Yeah. Also, we have Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and I haven't seen the first one, but I think the first one.
I have, and it's not that good, but
yeah. Yeah, it's always funny how quickly these things can turn around, and it's also funny to me every time I hear about these sequels coming out so quickly after the first one. I'm like, did they have a story ready? Did they just cobble something together? Like, oh man, yeah.
Yeah, no. I think this was very much a fast track type of situation.
Fast track thing, yeah. So there's that. One more, something called Man Finds Tape. Let me see. I think it was like a found footage thing. Let me see. A Man Finds Tape, 2025 film. Fascinating found footage movie, they say on Rotten Tomatoes. So, yeah, if you're into that, check that out. I think it's a limited release that week. Synopsis is pulled in by a series of strange and unexplainable video clips. A brother and sister team up to investigate the events captured in the footage, only to discover a shocking secret that's overtaking their small town Texas community. Oh, starring William Magnuson. I love that guy. He's in so many things.
Billy Magnuson. Yeah.
Billy Magnuson. Yep. So, yeah. There we go. That's for that.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so there's that. All right, and let's do a little plug-in. Let me pull up the plugs and copy and paste them in. Podcast, Medium, Substack, blog. Go there, read all my reviews. I'm starting to post more reviews this year, copy and paste them from my Letterboxd, Midnight Film Pod. I am 87 away. I think I'm probably closer than that, from 2,400 followers. Go to my YouTube channel, The Film Essayist. Go to Spotify for podcasters to make your own podcast very easily. And go check out all my interviews with B.R. Yeager, iFanboy, Ashley Sabin recently. And all that stuff. Follow me on Discords. I'm the Blair Butch still on Letterboxd, The Ringer, Blank Check, Hey Riddle. Go to all those Discords and chat me up there. Derick, what you got to plug?
Yes, check out my other podcast, Underrated. Look up Underrated Movie Podcast on any of your podcast apps to get it to come up. I'm also starting a bonus podcast in January called Minute Deus, where I'm looking at Amadeus in 15-minute chunks. That is available for everyone at least a $3 patron level. And you can also check out, if you want to follow me on TikTok, Underrated Movie Podcast. I've been posting, do little, I call them microdose film reviews, where I'll give a little under 5-minute review of whatever film I've been watching. I've been trying to do at least one a week. I've been posting those also to YouTube, to Patreon, and then as well to its own now dedicated podcast feed. So if you look up Microdose Film Reviews, I'm starting to dole those out, the backlog of those. But you can check out the new ones just by going to my TikTok, Underrated Movie Podcast.
Nice. Yeah, I was thinking, like you said, you do. You're doing Amadeus 15 minutes at a time. I think about that movie a lot, way more at an outsized amount, because at the beginning, he's talking to somebody. He's older, and he's talking to a younger guy, and he's like, "Don't you remember this song?" But he's playing something. The guy goes, "No, don't you remember this song?" No. And it's always, I think about that a lot, because that progression of like, media and whatever's popular eventually stops being popular. And then the newer generation will always come along, and they're probably not going to know what we knew. And I just think it's highly interesting. And I think it's fascinating that dynamic has always been there, that, a young kid will come along and like, "Don't you know Mozart? Don't you know Beethoven? Don't you know these things?" And it's like, "No, I don't. Sorry."
Well, the thing about that scene that you're missing is that he's playing his own songs and the priest doesn't remember them, but he starts playing dun 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 dun. He's like, "Oh, that's you," and he's like, "No, that's Mozart." So some things are eternal, and I think Mozart is very much will be eternal. So yeah, I'll have to have you on an episode of that for sure.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So with that, I've been Damian.
I've been Derick,
and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.